Hey everyone, I have quite an important show here because Jo, it's not her real name, but she's using that name. Jo reached out to me and wanted to share her story. She's someone that's working on the front line and wanted to basically relay a message that we might not be knowing about, hearing about. So Jo, would you like to tell us, your story and, where you've come from, what's been going on this year?
From my own personal experience, um, I'm an agency HCA as a healthcare assistant, and being an agency HCA, you get to go to all different uh, establishments, care homes, nursing homes, dementia, hospitals, anywhere that there is care needed, young people everywhere. Inundated with jobs before March. I could have done 2 shifts in two different places before then, 7 days a week. But then we got told about the lockdown, and then on March the 15th, that was my last shift, and I wasn't offered any more work shifts anywhere in the care industry. And this is a pandemic, when you think that everybody in the care industry is going to be pulled in it to help out. Um, I tried to register with some agencies prior to this anyway, and about mid-June to end of June, I got an email asking me if I'd like to come on a COVID contract. I'd be driving around, there's no hands-on, and I said yes. I mean, I had debts mounting up. Um, I didn't want to work in the health industry anymore. This has been niggling me the whole way through. I've never once agreed with it. I've been poo-pooed for my opinions on it. I'm lost.
Yeah. What were you being poo-pooed about?
That there isn't this big fearful virus that's going around. That it didn't sit right with me. And then now I'm out doing the COVID testing, it's even more turmoil for me inside my mind because of what I'm hearing from the media and the fearful people and what I'm seeing behind. And when I say seeing behind the scenes, I consider the scenes that I'm behind the bottom tier, and I'm still seeing huge discrepancies. That's on the bottom tier. So a 15-minute antibody test, and that's the blood test. Little prick on any finger, and 15 minutes later, you've got the result. There are nurses that are not even leaving it 5 minutes before they're reading the results. There was a test done, and this particular person was left waiting for the results for gone 20 minutes, because sometimes there was huge queues for these testings. There was, and I'm not going to lie about that. There was some 8-hour shifts where we did not stop and we went home exhausted. And I won't lie, but some of these tests that were left for longer than 20 minutes had completely changed. So a test that first read IgM positive was now reading nothing. The IgM is the one where your body is under attack.
Right.
So you're building up the antibodies for it. So that's the short term.
So people were having tests done that were coming out positive, and then a few minutes later it was negative.
Yeah. But they'd been told it's positive because the nurse has already read it to them at like 5 minutes.
So they've gone away thinking they're COVID positive, and then the final results come back saying it's actually negative.
But they don't get to go away. They get offered swab testing.
Oh, I see. So they're being baited into the next stage, which is the swab test.
Yes. So all the panic then surrounds that. I mean, you can already see in these people's eyes that, you know, the fear. And you want to, personally, I want to reach out and I want to say to them, please don't fear this. You know, it's not what it is, but you can't. Your lips are sealed.
What? Yes.
And that's a turmoil in itself. You know, you're doing a job you don't believe in. Across the healthcare industry, when you get a contract with an agency, regardless of what it is, domiciliary, whatever, you sign a contract of confidentiality that you do not share any form of data, any information, nothing. You're not even supposed to come home and talk about anything that went on in that day, and sometimes it's a struggle. It's like you need a debriefing, but you don't get that.
I see.
That's why you've had that inner turmoil, because you want to speak out and explain what's going on, but at the same time you're gagged.
We want to talk to each other as well, you know.
Yeah.
You don't know who to talk to.
So
you kind of you set up a sentence in your head that has got a little bait in it that kind of tells that person what you really feel about it, to see if they then respond with that, and then you know you're free to talk to them. And there's been one or two of them, but no, the rest of them, they're either sticking to it or they're just not coming forward and not opening up yet.
Why do you think that is?
On the nurses' side of it, you know, they've worked. Someone of 28 could have already been in the industry and working for 12 years, you know, and they've worked for their PIN. If they open their mouth, they've broken the confidentiality rules and they lose their PIN.
Yeah.
So they've got their whole career to think about. As much as I used to love this job, it wasn't a job for me. As much as I used to love getting up and going to see the people that I used to see, I don't want to do that anymore. That's not in me to do that anymore. I'm broken over this, about how the elderly and the vulnerable can be younger people that have got, you know, illnesses that keep them housebound or bedbound, and a healthcare assistant is the only person that they see every day. And you come away with that. And now we're not allowed to be anywhere near them. That is mental torture for us. So what could it be like for them? And for somebody that doesn't understand why you now can't come near me, what is that doing to their mental health?
Absolutely.
As well as their whole day? Because they look forward to seeing you, and now you can't even come near me.
Yeah,
absolutely. There was a really powerful image, and it was this like quite elderly lady holding up a big banner saying, "I'd rather have the virus than be left alone." Just to hold someone's hand or speak to their, you know, their family can just be their purpose for the day. You know, that can be their reward for the day. And if they're not getting that, then what are we doing to the elderly here? You know,
I mean, the minimum amount of time that I've known to go into somebody is 30 minutes. So that was at the beginning of my 13-year healthcare. I'd say it was a career because it was meant to be. I wasn't meant to be finishing it now. I loved it. I loved it. And it upsets me now to think that I'm not going to be a part of that anymore. Because I can't. It's so corrupted now. Not even the NHS track and trace, you know. but it's billed as that because we trust the NHS.
Yeah, it's Serco, isn't it? And these private
It is Serco.
Outsourcing to private companies, basically. So let's talk about some of the corruption then. Let's go back to the test then. If someone comes in to get a test done, and the first thing they do is they have a blood test, which is like this IgM, this antibody test.
You just sit down with a nurse. They do a quick finger prick test, which is like if you've got diabetes, it's like a finger prick test for the blood sugars. So it's very simple. It's not one from in the arm or anywhere like that. So it's a very quick test. You get that done, and you go in the 15-minute waiting room.
Okay, and then they're getting these tests back, and they're saying they're positive when they're not, and then a few minutes later, the hospital,
clear.
The nurses know that it's clear, but then they have been already convinced to go and have the secondary test, which is the swab test.
Yeah, they're already off the premises because the 15 minutes have been up.
Yeah.
Well, it was read at 5 minutes, and in the next 10 minutes, you are either going on their devices to find a testing centre, the walk-ins, or going on what is it? I can't remember what it is now, John. There was paperwork, and there was also the device. You log it in for them.
Okay.
And then they get sent off for the invasive swab one.
So why weren't they told, oh, by the way, your test came back negative?
Because they've now gone, and it's already, they've gone off the premises, and it's already been logged on the computer as a positive.
You're joking. So like most of these, you'd say probably most of these are actually negative, but they've been told they're positive.
Yes, because they've not been waiting long enough. And this is nurses.
So whose fault is that? Is that the people, the actual people coming in to get the test done? They're not waiting long enough, or the nurses aren't waiting long enough to get the final result?
The nurses are not waiting long enough. It's almost like it's like a cattle drive. Let's get as many in and over and done with as possible. But, a 15-minute test is not long to wait. I mean, services in some of these testing centres are, and I mean testing centres that have been set up independently of Serco. So, companies can buy into this, set up a marquee, and then the testing centres are beginning for them. So the people that come into these testing centres for 15 minutes, that's not long to wait. And then you get the result after 5. But hang on a minute, you're a nurse, and results change very quickly. I know that as a HCA. So how do you? So I had that going on in my head as well.
Wow, that's such.
That I know that should be waiting 15 minutes, and now I've had so many of these change after 15 to 20 minutes. But also they tell you to throw it away after 15 because any results after that are invalid.
Why are they telling you that then if results can change?
Don't know.
And why are they having a blood test done before the swab test as well?
I don't know. I really don't know. That's, again, this is everything I'm talking. I've spoken to you about the mental struggle that I'm having. Because as a HCA, when you've been working in hospitals and you've seen the way things work, and then now you're in these COVID testing marquees, and it's all being changed. And it shouldn't be like that. It's 15 minutes. I know I keep saying that, but that's somebody's life you're playing with there. You've sent them away as a positive. They're in attack now, and they're not. and you've sent away to have a swab test.
Yeah.
The testing centres, but some of them, the independent ones, they've also got the swab tests. So you come in, you have this blood test done. The blood test shows a positive IgM, and you get offered a swab test to confirm it. Well, didn't the blood test just do that?
Yeah, what was the point
Because
of the blood test? Yeah.
the blood tests can also give you the IgG, which is the long-term antibodies, and that tells you that you've had it. But also, you know, like anything, not all antibodies stay in every body. Some of us keep them, some of us don't. But they're saying that we are not keeping any of these COVID antibodies.
So
they're not being kept in any of us. But some people that we've tested that suspect that they had it, you know, in the early days, or maybe March, you know, some go back to November. They've still got it. They come up as long-term antibodies.
That's good. That's a good thing, isn't it?
That is a very good thing. Yeah. But the thing that is being sent around is we do not keep the antibodies at all. They go over time.
Are they trying to convince everyone to have as many people as possible to have the swab test by making light of the antibodies, saying, oh, you know, they go away after a certain time, force everyone onto a conveyor belt?
Yeah, I'm sure it is, because, I mean, the way I see it, they should have been having a swab test first, and then to confirm the swab test with the antibody test.
Yeah.
You know, the blood test. That's the way it should have been.
That should be like that.
That's the way they're telling us it should be.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense to have the blood test, you know, first before the
swab test.
But they're also getting offered the swab in these independent marquees.
Yeah.
And then being told they've still got to go off and have another swab at the track and trace facilities, the Serco tents. Why? Why would you put yourself through two of them? It's beyond me.
And what about, let's talk about the swab test then. So let's say they had the blood test and they say they come back positive, or they got antibodies and they need to go and have the swab test done, even if they do turn out negative from the blood test. So then they go and they have the swab test done. What are you seeing behind the scenes there with the swab test that people should know about?
The places that I've been for the swab tests are not the Serco swab tests. These are the independent ones that are setting it up for the health and protection of their employees, students, and places like that. So I can't tell you what the Serco swab agenda is.
What are you noticing with the results of the swab test, for instance, and how that's being looked at?
Personally, when I've been on site, I would say that 99.9% of people walk out of that tent negative. Negative.
Right.
But that's not how it's being documented, because as I said to you, some of those tests have not yet developed enough. You know, and also arguments over faint lines. You're having to look at it with with the lights on or in the daylight to see that line. That line.
I don't know what that means by lines. What do you mean by?
So on the you know, the blood test, the rapid blood test that we do, it's like a little tube, and a bit like a pregnancy test. Okay, but it's shorter and stubbier, and it's got 3 lines on there. So the bottom line is the IgM line, and that's the one that a virus is attacking your body right now, and your body is, you know, responding. The second line is the IgG, which is the one that you've had a virus and you've got the long-term antibodies for them. And then the third line is the control line. So sometimes that control line hasn't even been met by the fluid that needs to go into that testing tube before they're given the results. So the control line hasn't even been in the fluid. It means that the fluid has definitely gone through the first two lines to detect the IgM and the IgG.
They have both of those, so then they are positive.
Yeah, if you've got an IgG and an IgM line, that means you are no longer infectious.
And then so most of the people are having that done, they're coming back negative, about 99.9% are negative.
The swabs on site
Yeah.
are then coming back negative. And then when they go off to the Serco walk-ins, I don't get to know the results of them.
So we don't know about that. So that could come back totally different for all we know. So you just know about the start, like it's for the staff, right? That testing is independent of Serco. It's just done for the staff there.
Yeah, staff, students, anywhere that we go. And there's a lot of places that are now pulling in, the COVID testing.
Okay, so what we're told in the mainstream media is that there's thousands of new cases every day. It doesn't sound like that's.
No, I wouldn't definitely say that was not happening.
Yeah, I mean, people have been taking tests and they've been, getting the home kit, the home test sent to them, and then they've just been getting the swab and putting it in a puddle outside, and it's sending it out, and it's been coming back positive. Or just like there's one video of a guy just took it out the wrapper, took it out the packaging, and then just like broke it, did the thing, put it straight back in and sent it off without doing anything on it. That came back positive as well.
So
I have heard of all them. I haven't done that myself. I don't feel that I need to, because I'm seeing it firsthand that it's not all the truth getting out there. I mean, there are also nurses and healthcare assistants being affected by this, with how much they've spent on becoming a nurse. There are healthcare assistants that work alongside being a HCA and take their nursing degree. I've met a few just recently that are still waiting for their PIN to come through, and they don't want to be a nurse anymore. They feel like they've wasted like 3 years or more of their life, their money, their time, and they were in tears telling me this. How many more out there? That's just 2 people that was brave enough to say that they don't agree with what's going on. They don't want to be in the healthcare industry anymore.
So is there a general feeling that a lot of the nurses can see what's going on and they want to speak out, but they can't, and a lot of them are feeling very demoralised and feeling as though they don't want to be there?
Oh yeah. I mean, how do I say this without it meaning like ungrateful? Clapping us.
Oh yeah, talk about that. Tell us about that. How do you feel about everyone clapping?
How would you feel? Not you, because you're kind of in the industry that expects a bit of applause, but your viewers, how would you feel if the rest of the world was clapping you on a certain time, week in, week out, for the job that you did, but we weren't overrun anyway? It was almost like the clap was what can I say, redundant. It's like, well, we're not overrun, so why are you clapping us? We're not. And I'm not saying certain wards were not overrun, because there's some hospitals that are not as big as others. But in general, yeah. And I love the NHS.
Yeah.
I fully respect them. I've worked with so many over the years, and they're friends, but they all feel the same. The ones that I've spoken to.
But they just don't. They can't say anything. That's the thing.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
They're gagged.
So would you say then the hospitals are pretty much empty during the peak of the pandemic, just around March onwards? So empty, and the COVID wards as well, they were pretty much empty?
Yes.
Wow.
And if our doors are shut, there's no lying going on. We've got to explain why these wards because no one's seeing them. The doors are shut. Yeah,
because the image from the mainstream media is that they're like absolutely bursting at the seams, and people can't get in, and people are scared to go in because it's just it's absolutely mobbed with people. But the truth is, it's like a ghost town in there.
There are some nurses that are still actively working on the wards, and I can tell you that not all wear masks.
Really?
Yeah, we don't.
Why?
Because we don't feel that there's a need to.
Wow.
If somebody has got MRSA or C. diff, which we have to gown up for that, because that is very transferable. But no, we're not wearing masks for COVID. We're not. Apart from that, we can't breathe. It's not cold in a hospital. Can't be. Has to be warm. Can't breathe behind the masks. We do long hours. We're on our feet 12 hours a day. Sometimes 13, depending on the shift you've got.
Wow. Yeah.
And some nurses, they don't even get a break. Not a proper break. They get like 5 minutes behind the desk while they're still typing and doing their notes. But, in general, it's the normal day. Because myself and my colleagues that I've spoken to don't see it as any other than that. When you've assisted a patient that has got C. diff and MRSA, you know how to gown up, you know how to protect yourself. You've got to come home and wash and shower and everything. You have to do things like that for them, but not for this COVID. Because we don't feel that it's that bad, that transferable. And certainly, when they say that, young children don't have to wear a mask, and I've heard that they don't get infected, I'm sorry. If you're born, you can get infected. And if you think about a younger person's immune system, it's not developed. So they're the vulnerable group along with the elderly. So none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense.
It doesn't.
It's like you're given different agendas every day, every week. And it's to confuse everybody.
Do you think that's why? Just to keep everyone in a state of confusion? Do you think that's part of the agenda here?
Yeah, because, if you think about how you would feel if somebody was, let's say, dictating your life. So one day, they're trying to mess you up. So one day they're telling you, this is how it is today. This is what we found today. This is what I found today. And then in a week's time, they say, no, it's not that. this is it. This is what we're doing now.
Mm.
And then that period, it's not weekly anymore. It gets shorter and shorter. So it got to the point where we were getting instructions, you know, excuse me, on a daily basis. That you don't know where you are.
Mm.
You have no clue where you are. You're trying to think to yourself, what is the rules today? And as healthcare workers, we're governed by rules, you know, by what we're allowed to do and say and how to help. So now to add all these different rules that change daily, that messes with your mind.
It does, and it also must sort of have the effect of almost paralyzing you, because you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm stepping over a line or not here, so I'll be more obedient to whatever I'm told, and I won't question anything because I'm so scared of, you know, I'm stepping on eggshells at the moment. And
We're not all stepping on eggshells.
You're not.
We're not all no. We're not all following them rules.
Oh, okay. So there's people that go,
I have never worn a mask yet.
Wow, okay.
And I refuse to. You won't catch me wearing one. And I don't wear one for work.
Wow.
For what I'm doing. I do carry the exemption for the reasons that I have. I'm not wearing one. I'm not following that. That doesn't sit right with me. Like I said to you before, none of this has sat right with me since the beginning, and the gap is slowly getting wider and wider.
Which gap?
Of all the discrepancies and everything. Everything is just the gap between what is right and what is wrong, and the discrepancies is getting wider and wider. It wasn't like at the beginning, it was just a little tweak. We have to do this, we have to do that. Yeah, that's fine. But it's got wider and wider, and now, you know, you can't touch, you can't be near, you can't do this, you can't do that. Oh, but it's all right to go and do this with them in a meeting. As long as you call it a meeting. Yeah, but I can't touch that elderly patient that needs me to help her. No. That's mental torture for a healthcare assistant or healthcare professional that is in that job, and it's not a job. It is something you love because you're compassionate and you want to genuinely help and assist that person to make that day a good day for them.
Yeah.
So to have that taken away from you, I have come home crying so many nights. So many nights. And I've done across the board care. I've not just gone and done one sector. So I've been in dementia, you know, where you have to duck and everything. And I've been in nursing homes and learning disability, young people, residential care homes. I've done it, you know, hospitals, the Priory, places like that. I've been across the board, so I've seen, you know, a wide range of care. And I'm ashamed now. I feel like my sector is letting all these people down. Because we can't do what we wanted to do for a job. You know, it got me out of bed. It doesn't get me out of bed anymore. I have to force myself. Sorry.
No, it makes total sense, because you're doing it because you're a compassionate person, and now you can't be compassionate. It's like, well, what's the emotional connection to this role anymore? What's the connection?
Yeah.
And so when that's cut away from you, it's dehumanizing, isn't it? And it's just, you're not able to do what you're good at, which is like loving people and caring about people and being supportive. It's just it's just curtailing all of that, and so I can see why that would kills the purpose of the job, doesn't it? And I'm sure, yeah. And are other people feeling that as well? Do you talk to other staff there, and how are they dealing with? Are they finding it tough as well?
Yes, they are. You've got the ones that are still in the mindset that this is real, and they're going along with the rules, and you've got, you know, my side of things where no, this ain't right. I'm going to be doing things the way I feel, the way I feel I need to be doing things for this person. And if that means I've got to assist them to walk or anything, then I'm going to touch that person and assist them to walk.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to sit there and hold their hand, I'm going to hold their hand. You're not going to stop me. Everybody needs a hug.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to touch. You know, you deprive people of that.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad. We need touch. We need that connection. We must have that. And actually, it's good for the immune system to touch. You know, and we can't all for this sodding virus, which has a 99.4% survival rate anyway. So it's just the whole thing doesn't even add up.
I'm hearing from grandparents who have had, you know, grandchildren born at the beginning of this year that they've not even been able to have a cuddle yet.
Yeah.
That breaks my heart.
Yeah, I haven't seen my nan like all year.
That breaks my heart. None of us deserve this. You know, you go without a week, a hug. You feel like you need to just grab someone and, you know, be, you know?
Oh, definitely.
So all them babies now.
Oh God, they're stopping the babies from being held as well.
Yes. Yes.
And the mum can't even be held with the baby. I mean, you know, at birth, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
But not allowed out of the hospital without being COVID tested. I mean, I know their colleagues. I think I said it to you yesterday. I feel that even when, because I'm getting a little bit of, you know, negative feedback when I do open up, but I do feel that as more and more people wake to what really is going on, and they start feeling that they've been fooled, I feel that this is really going to affect a lot of people. A lot of people. I mean, once this year is out, I feel that next year is going to be like there's going to be a lot of mental health issues coming out. More people that thought they were strong. It's going to show up that actually this has affected them.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for doing that interview with the German lawyer.
Rainer, yeah.
Yeah, it was the things in that and another one that I saw that made me want to come forward.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's so. I'm glad you did, because you felt so terrified just to speak up, didn't you? Even just
yes, I did.
Reach out to me. It was like nervous for you, wasn't it? So that's why we're having to.
You can't have my number. You can't have it.
Exactly.
I'm not letting you have that.
But that's all right. But I get it, and that's the thing, because you're so gagged and you're so worried about, you know, your, well, like most people working there would feel the same way, that they can't say anything, that we're having to like make you anonymous here. And it's so sad, isn't it, that you can't just speak up about what's going on safely, knowing that you're going to be protected, even though that you have everyone's best interest at heart, and you're kind and compassionate and want to really care for people. You still have to hide yourself, and that just shows what is going on here. And what about all the other thousands, tens of thousands of you know, frontline workers who are being gagged right now. I'm probably feeling the same thing as you, but like, what do I say? How can I get this message out without losing my job? I mean, there must be thousands that are feeling
And
the
as I
same way
said,
as
you can't go home and debrief with anyone.
No, and that must be, yes, you kind of
You're
need
not
to,
allowed to talk about your day, like the people or anything, any data or anything. You can't.
So is there any, so you can't even get it off your back. You can't even sort of share your problem to kind of halve a problem. Yeah. Is there anything else that people need to know about that goes on behind the scenes that everyone, you're kind of trying to keep hush hush, or is that kind of the main ones?
From my point of view, unless you can jog my memory from our, initial chat yesterday, I feel that is the most important.
Yeah.
That, even on the bottom tier of this farce, the data is wrong. They're not letting it develop long enough, and then, it goes past that 15 minutes and it can be a negative. But we're told it's invalid after 15 minutes.
Because they want to get people to more, the more tests, then the more COVID cases there are, and then the more it kind of looks as though everything's spiking, so it creates more fear, and then people are sort of more, it legitimizes the lockdown and the closure of businesses and local businesses, and people go, okay, I will isolate and I will stay on lockdown more easily. Because
the other thing that you've just reminded me of is you saying about, the more people get tested and the more tests that are done. They're not all being tested. Let's say there was 6,000 tests done. That's not 6,000 different people. That is people that have been invited back to have another test. And some people were coming through 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So, they can say, we've tested, let's stick with 6,000 people, and this is the results we've got. But it might have only been 1,500 people that walked through that testing centre. Do you understand what I mean?
No, sorry, say that again. So there's 1,500 people walking through the test centre.
Yeah, so let's say we've tested 1,500 people. Yeah. So now we've done 1,500 tests and we've got them results and they're in the computer.
Yeah.
Now we've done 6,000 tests on people.
Oh, 6,000 tests on those 1,500 people.
Yeah. It doesn't mean we've done 6,000 different people.
Right.
It means we've done 6,000 tests on maybe 1,500 people. So,
wow.
That's another way.
So then they're using that data and saying, they're fudging they're cooking the books, they're fudging the numbers by saying there's 6,000 cases when really it's 1,500 people.
Yeah, and then of that, how many people actually tested properly for the virus, and not just after 5 minutes.
After 5 minutes of that test done, I think it's almost like they want to create the high numbers, inflated numbers.
They've got to justify everything now.
Yeah.
They've got to justify this whole lockdown and what they've done to humanity. So they've got to fudge data now.
Exactly.
So this is what made me come forward, because of the German lawyer saying about, what he has achieved. I breathed out. It felt like I hadn't breathed for a long time. And I breathed out. And I just wanted to add a little bit more to what is not going on behind closed doors. What is not going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does feel like a big exhalation. Is there anything that you'd like to see happen? What would you like to see happen over the next, few weeks, months?
I don't feel that it would be as soon as the next few weeks, but I do feel that Christmas is going to be the testing point for people. It's going to be the breaking point. I've already heard of people saying that, you know, they're going to defy the rules because there isn't this going on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to not see my whoever at Christmas. But I personally, I see 2021 as a lot of people's eyes are going to be well and truly opened. There's millions still feeding into this, and it's going to be them. You know, it's hard to convince them. You can see it in their eyes. They are fearful, and they do feel that there is this around. But as I said, I've never worn a mask, and I also haven't stayed in the UK. I've been to different countries that I've been allowed to go to, and I haven't isolated. I haven't done any of that self-isolation, and I'm fine. There's nothing. There's nothing. But next year, I do feel that you know, we're going to come out of this. It's going to be a long healing.
I know. Hopefully there's an unraveling. There's a peeling of people. I know a lot of my friends who are sort of on the fence for all this are sort of. I've told them to stop watching BBC and just actually go and find interviews with nurses and doctors and well, yeah, I don't want to say YouTube. People think, oh, you know, you're just watching YouTube videos. It's almost downgrades it, but it's just like go on a platform where people are actually interviewing people without the propaganda of the mainstream media and just directly talking to frontline workers, whistleblowers, people that are just speaking out about things. That's where you get the real news from. In fact, I wanted to say this to people, is that to my viewers, try and detach from your newspapers and your TVs as your first source of information. We have now online, you can actually see interviews with people directly with no agendas, just going on to speaking out about what's going on. They're not funded, they're not bought out people, and they're not activists, which is that's what journalism is these days. It's just activism, you know. But if you can go online and actually source out these kind of interviews with people that are actually there just to sort of blow the whistle on what's going on, that's where you get your news from. You know, that has to be the way forward. We're in a new paradigm now where it's not a top-down news to recipient, you know, passively receiving. We can all be detectives. We can all be investigative journalists and actually think to ourselves, right, okay, this has been said. Okay, so I want to find if there's anyone else that agrees with that. Are there any other nurses that are coming forward saying this? Are there any doctors saying this? I'm going to try and find that myself. You know, don't be lazy. Don't just try and whatever the Guardian newspaper are telling you. Oh, okay, they've told me that if I don't isolate, then I'm going to kill my grandma. Okay, I'll stay indoors where I'm nice and safe. It's like, go and do the research yourself. Stop being such a lazy sod and actually go and do this, and stop calling other people conspiracy theorists. I mean, I've talked to lawyers, virologists, I've talked to a cell biologist, a world famous cell biologist, Bruce Lipton. I've talked to yourself, I've talked to frontline workers, and yet you've just read an article on the BBC and I'm the conspiracy theorist? You're the one. I'm not wearing my mask. You're wearing the mask, and you're wearing your marigold gloves, and you're 6 feet away from everyone, and you can't hug anyone, and you know you're acting like you're, you're acting like an alien. I'm the same. I'm acting exactly the same as last year. So how am I the conspiracy theorist? I haven't changed. I'm acting exactly the same as I did in 2019. Nothing has changed with me. So
I've not bought a paper in over 20 years,
exactly.
And I haven't licensed. I haven't bought a BBC license for 5 years. Yeah. And I tell them exactly why I do not watch the BBC, because they have to give you an exemption. Form that comes through, and they ask me, so why do you not need a license? And I tell them straight, because I do not, pay into a paedophilia organisation.
Yeah, which they are. Yeah,
and I put that in capitals. I do not do that. Yeah. So my influences over this COVID thing is not media based. I do not buy into it. I don't watch the news because to me that's all negative and it's feeding into us.
Yeah, of course.
They never put a positive one out, and if they do, it's the last 30 seconds. So I don't listen to all the negativity around the world. So this has all gone on what I've seen and what I've heard straight from my colleagues.
Yeah. That's the real news, and that's the thing. That's where you get the real news from. That's where you get the real information from. These kind of conversations. So, Joe, Joe blogs. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing all that, and hopefully that's a big exhalation that feels kind of relieving to have done this. And
and also, you know, going forward, it feels like breathing is going to be a lot more easier, and I don't mean that as a pun. I mean, there's a heavy weight on every one of us at the moment. Every one of our mental health is being tried. It is pushing us to our limits. And next year is going to slowly ease up and we're going to breathe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that time. I'm looking forward to, because it's always like a war. There's a war on oxygen and there's a war on carbon dioxide at the moment. The two things that are like fundamental components of life, you know, and giving life, you know, it's just ridiculous. What else are they going to do? Are they going to create an oxygen tax or something? I don't know. But
yes.
Probably. I don't know. I've given them that idea now. But okay, Joe, look, we come to the end there, but I'll just say thanks again for being brave. And I want to say also, if there's anyone else out there that wants to share their message, please get in touch with me privately, and we can do a similar thing where we can, you know, make this anonymous and get your voice, you know, put out there for other people to encourage other people to come forward, you know. And then if we maybe create a bit of a ripple effect, a domino effect, where people feel that they can share a message, it will reach a tipping point whereby we've saturated a threshold of people speaking out, and then it doesn't feel like people are sort of having to be a real outlier, because there's like there's a confidence with in numbers. There's a safety in numbers at that point. So if you want to speak out and you want to say something, please get in contact with me and I'll try and give you a voice. I don't know how long YouTube are going to keep me on for, because they'll probably boot me for, you know, speaking too much truth. The Ministry of Truth will probably come down on me, but, you know, we'll keep going until that moment. So Joe, yeah, thanks a lot, and yeah, we'll keep in touch via email, I guess.
Thank you for letting me do this.